Filipino is not happy of the dollar exchange rate is increasing. You know why? Panoorin mo yung video na to. Sa mga hindi nakakalam tungkol sa nangyayari, tungkol sa exchange rate, ayan. So, bibigyan ko kayo ng idea dahil tumataas ang dollar exchange ngayon. Kung hindi ako nagkakamali, ang dollar exchange ngayon ay pumalo na ng 58. Ayan, so 58.60 something. So, $1 nila ay sa atin dito sa peso ay 58.6, roughly like that. So, ibig sabihin, tumataas ang exchange rate nila. So, para sa ating mga Filipino, tama ba yun? And isi-share ni Kano yung kanyang thoughts about sa inflation na nangyayari ngayon. So, let's talk about the dollar exchange rate.
Okay. What do you want to talk about?
Because you are a foreigner here in our country.
Yeah.
So mostly that I read from the Facebook group that they are happy, mostly foreigners, that they are happy because of the dollar exchange rate now is getting higher contra peso. Your dollar now is your $1 now is equivalent to 58 point something.
It was like 58.68 when I saw it this morning.
Okay. Can you give us your thought about it? Are you happy as being a foreigner living here in the Philippines? Are you benefiting of this?
In the short term, yes. But in the long term, we're not going to. The problem here's the problem. As the exchange rate keeps going up, goods and services that come into this country, prices are going to go up for it. So, for example, gasoline. I know that just on our trip to Cabanatuan City yesterday, on the way there, I saw that gasoline was 64 pesos a liter, and coming home, it was 67 pesos a liter. So just in time for us going there and back, gasoline went up 3 pesos a liter. Okay. What that's going to do, it's going to increase transportation costs. The jeepney drive used to be 85 pesos, now it's 88 pesos. The trike rides we used to take used to be 30 pesos, now they're 40 pesos. So inflation is hitting this country. Now, as an American, with U.S. dollars as his pension, we can manage the increases. But the average Filipino, it's going to devastate them. It's going to end up crashing. It's going to end up putting the country into a recession. My country right now is in a recession, and a lot of what's going on with the peso is directly resulted from that. This is going to get just a little technical, but whenever the American Federal Reserve Board has to raise interest rates on banks, basically the banks are charged to move money from bank to bank. When they raise that rate, it affects exchange rates all over the world, because it's not just American banks that pay that interest rate, it's all banks around the world. So even though most people don't want to admit it, the de facto world currency right now is the US dollar. So when our Federal Reserve has to raise rates on banks in order to do business, to move money around, Philippine banks end up having to pay more money for that. So in turn, they end up having to charge higher interest on mortgages, car loans, personal loans. They end up lowering rates on savings accounts and other investments. Okay. And then on top of that, when imports that are needed in the country, like gasoline and prices go up, the money that the average Filipino makes definitely does not go as far as it used to. That's called inflation. Okay. A little inflation shows a healthy economy. Massive inflation causes an uncontrolled spiral of the value of the currency. And that is what is happening right now. When I first got here, the exchange rate was about 51. If it went up to about 52 by the end of the year, and then by the end of next year, maybe went up to 53, that's a healthy growth for the economy. Going up 7 to 8 points, and it's going to go higher. Do not be surprised if the exchange rate is over 60 by the end of the year. When the exchange rate goes up that high, the strength of the U.S. dollar is pushing basically the world into a recession. It's also another reason why I am personally against our Federal Reserve, because no entity should have that much influence on world economics, and our Federal Reserve System does. Most foreigners, Americans, they're ecstatic about the higher rate, because it means they can spend more money on luxuries, more money on playing, more money on drinking. And let's face it, many expats here do a lot of drinking, and they don't pay attention to a budget. We keep our budget as it is. The extra money that we get because of the exchange rate goes into NAL's savings, to be building her future once I'm no longer here, and goes into emergency funds. Because eventually, the exchange rate's going to come back down. It always happens. You have ups and downs. So when that exchange rate goes down, all these foreigners who are basically throwing around free money and not paying attention to a budget are now going to be scrambling, having to cut back, and they're going to be miserable because they can't enjoy the life like they have been because they were blowing money when the exchange rate was high. We're saving money when the exchange rate is high. So when the exchange rate comes back down, our standard of living hasn't changed. But most of these foreigners, or these Americans who are blowing the extra pesos, they will have to change their standard of living because of the increase, because the decrease when it finally happens. So basically, you prepare for the future. You don't waste just because it's there to waste.
What is your piece of advice to everyone?
My piece of advice is the advice my grandmother always gave me, and that is to save money. She always taught me that the number one bill in your life should be God in the form of tithing, and God is going to understand. God is going to understand if you can't tithe the quote 10%, but you give what you can. But the number two bill in your life is yourself. You should always put a little something away for an emergency, even if it's just a couple of pesos, because over months and years it'll add up. And then when things like this happen with inflation and you're not earning enough at the moment, you have an emergency fund to make up for the difference until you can do something to be earning more money. I hope this helps. I know as an American, I'm the exception and not the rule of seeing the exchange rate going as high as it is, but most Americans, to be honest with you, I don't think understand economics. So I hope the information I gave you helps. So from Noel and me, bye and have a good day. Thank you for watching.